Salutations everyone, welcome to my review for Avengers Age of Ultron. Full disclaimer, this is a spoilerific review. Can't do this movie in the way that you should in a review-wise without spoilers. So, without further ado, spoilers. So, overall what I thought of the film was, I liked it. Got my thumbs up. I thought it was a good addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Did a lot of very, very smart things, even if they were different from the comics or from what we might have expected from this film. I liked the film. It was entertaining, good action, good character development, good continuation of what they did in the previous films. Was it as good as the first Avengers? I don't really know. I don't know if I can really say that at this point. It did some things better. It did some things that, you can't really replicate in the second film because, the first one you can only do some things one time. As far as who was the better villain, Loki or Ultron, of course Tumblr will always say Loki, so you can't really please a lot of people with that. You can't just have Loki be the bad guy every time. He's the bad guy who gets the Avengers to become the Avengers in the comics, so it only makes sense he was there in the film. But Ultron is, one of the greater threats in the Marvel universe. Even though he gets beaten time and time again, he's still a big threat, and we know what he's capable of. So it was an obvious, villain that they could definitely do to fill in for, when Thanos wants to get ready, since we still had those 3 stones to account for. Now we only have 2. I like the way that they assembled the Avengers in the beginning of the movie so that they're all together at the beginning, so you don't have to assemble them when Ultron becomes created, because they're all going for Loki's scepter, which is a powerful thing that they do not want in the wrong hands. I thought that was done fairly well. The whole code green thing, you only need Hulk when we need something to be smashed. With the whole relationship with Black Widow, I thought was natural and very nice. She was there to calm him down, to bring him back to Bruce Banner state. The whole love interest thing, while some people are going to hate because, oh, women being, subjected to becoming just nothing but a love interest, blah, 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 bullshit. I thought it was natural, especially since the relationship they had, she's the one who recruited him, and they kind of always had, their own little thing, which we kind of expected from the trailers when we saw the lullaby happening. That was actually okay. That's not something that I would have expected to be okay with, but yeah, I was definitely okay with the whole Black Widow Hulk thing. As far as the other character development goes, I liked the way that they kept Bruce Banner and Tony being, genius buddies. And I like the way that they handled the building of Ultron. They've been planning on this Ultron initiative to become like a Brother Eye kind of a thing. I know it's DC, but that's basically what they were doing. They were creating a Brother Eye, a system of robot Iron Man suits to protect the Earth instead of the Avengers. And they didn't have the AI tools capable of such a thing, and then they found it once they got the stone and they were able to analyze it, the whole AI thing. And the fact that Bruce and Tony were working on it, I think was very nice. We knew that Tony was going to be the one to build Ultron, because Hank Pym is in this movie. And which is fine because, in the comics, Tony creates Ultron 9, and, it's fine. And the fact that when he turned him on, he was able to become fully sentient and do things that he wasn't supposed to do at such a rapid pace, just like he's in the comics. So I thought, technology-wise, they nailed what Ultron was capable of. Overall, he didn't seem to be that big of a threat as he should be. This is, however, his first incarnation. It's not like Ultron 5 was the biggest, baddest Ultron in the comics. This is Ultron's first attempt. So he wasn't going to be at his best. But it was surprising and a little disappointing that he wasn't dipped in adamantium. That he built the Vision to become his new body is different, but it makes kind of sense instead of him just building a robot to fight the Avengers. He already had that, so the screenwriters had to give Ultron a reason to create a special robot in the Vision with AI. And it was in this tissue plus adamantium thing. I don't know why they went with tissue. Maybe they needed that for the mold. I'm not too sure. Definitely did not expect the Mind Stone to be part of the Vision. That was definitely an interesting choice. The Vision himself was a really, really cool character. We knew Paul Bettany was a great casting choice. The fact that he held Thor's hammer was one of 2 things. Either he's worthy, which is what was implied in the film, so oh, we can trust the Vision because he's holding Thor's hammer, therefore he's worthy and he's a good guy. Or it could be the Mind Stone, because that makes anything possible, so it could be that. The movie, of course, is implying the former, and I think that's what they're going for, but it still could have been the Mind Gem if they wanted to go that route for whatever reason. Speaking of the gems, we have only 2 left accounted for. We don't know really what the ether was in Thor Dark World. We don't know if that was time or the reality gem. I think it was the reality gem, so we either have time or reality left. I want to say time and the soul stone. Not, no, equivalent exchange for that soul stone. But we don't know where those 2 gems are going to end up. My best guess would be Thor Ragnarok would be the time stone or reality, whichever one is left. And the Soul Stone would be in Doctor Strange, the Benedict Cumberbatch. It could be in Guardians of the Galaxy too, but they already did their stone, and it would make sense with Doctor Strange and the whole soul. Also, the Mind Gem kind of was used in this movie more like the Soul Gem is in the comics, but that's semantics really. It doesn't really matter what does what, as long as one of them does one of the things. So that's definitely going to be interesting. Another thing I like how they handled was the Hulkbuster suit. They had Bruce and Tony created in conjunction. Bruce made this because he doesn't trust the Hulk. He doesn't trust himself as the Hulk, which was like a theme throughout the entire film, was how Bruce doesn't like the Hulk, how you have to call for code green for the Hulk to come in here because he doesn't want to, but it's, it's necessary to become the Hulk in these cases. And the fact that he built Veronica, which for those of you who don't know, the joke is his love interest is Betty Ross. Betty, Veronica, Archie Comics, that's the whole thing. In case you were wondering why is it called Veronica. So that's what the Hulkbuster suit is. I think it's awesome that Bruce helped create it with Tony to be an anti-Hulk countermeasure, just in case he went awry, which is what happened. So, that's what it was for. I like that they had replacing parts of the suits as they get destroyed and how it was specifically built to stop the Hulk, how he encase his fist, and then the punching, and it was really, really well done with the Hulkbuster and how it was created and how it handled in the field. So that was definitely well done. I like how they kept the relationship with Bruce and Tony. They did a lot of conflict with Tony and Chris Evans, Steve Rogers to set up for Civil War. I enjoyed the camaraderie between Black Widow and the Hulk. They focused a lot on Hawkeye. I think maybe a little bit too much to be like, hey, we know that he's like the weakest one and not a lot of people like him, so let's put him a bit more in the spotlight. And they also, Josh Whedon said that he was setting him up to die for the entire film, and then Quicksilver is the one who dies. Did you see that coming? And so that was interesting. I didn't think that Hawkeye was going to die up until the point where Ultron was coming down with the bullets and he was going to shield the kid. At that point, I thought, oh, he's going to die. And then Quicksilver comes in and was like, oh shit, Quicksilver's the one that dies. That was unexpected and actually pretty cool in a meaningful death situation. A lot of people might not say that Quicksilver's death was as impactful or as important as Coulson's death because Coulson was just a human and he was trying to help. But I think Quicksilver's death was much, much better because Coulson's death meant absolutely nothing. He sacrificed his life for nothing. He didn't help anything happen. Loki still got away and killed him and whatever. Also, he didn't die because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show had to happen. So that was a very hollow death. I think here with Quicksilver's death, it's a lot less hollow because there was the relationship between him and Hawkeye, him being the first one, and you see that coming, and then, but you didn't see that coming, and then he saves him, and he's like, you see that coming? That was actually kind of cool. Also, him sacrificing his life for someone that he wanted to kill earlier. He's in his home country, they're trying to all save the world together, they're all Avengers now, and he's saved someone, and I think that was really cool. I'll say he might not be permanently dead. It seems to be that way, but Scarlet Witch, let's not forget, can bring people back from death, especially since, she loves him. And I like the connection that they had. A, they're twins. B, she's a powerful magic user. Of course, she's going to feel her brother die, and I think that they made her power level perfectly suited for the situation. She wasn't at her max level, but she's still fairly new to these powers, but she was also as powerful as she needed to be in that situation, destroy all the Ultron robots and stuff. So I think that was really good how they handled the Maximoff twins, how they explained that they were the only survivors in the project, using Loki's staff to give people abilities. And I thought it was really well done. As far as Ultron goes, He was a bit disappointing in how they utilized him. Of course, people are going to say that Loki was the better villain because, you know, Tumblr loves Loki and we'll never win that fight. But Ultron is a huge threat in the Marvel Universe. He did encase himself in adamantium, made the Vision to be that body, which is a fine way of explaining it, because if he was encased in adamantium, the Avengers wouldn't be able to stop him, unless they had previously mentioned that there's a molecular rearranger that Ultron is using to make his adamantium parts more malleable, and which Scarlet Witch would use her hex magic to fuck with it and destroy Ultron. Otherwise, he can't be stopped. Thor can hit as hard as he wants with that hammer. Hulk can smash and smash and smash. Ultron is just like maybe a dent. That's going to be about it. So they made him not as powerful as he could be, but this is Ultron's first merry-go-round. This is his first rodeo. He wasn't in adamantium. He wasn't at his full potential. He was going to destroy the Earth, making a MacGyvered crater, a meteor, and blowing up the world and, you know, killing all the humans. Makes sense in Ultron, you know, wanting to destroy all mankind, hating Tony Stark more than anyone else, perfectly suited. The comics where he has an irrational hate for Hank Pym with the whole Oedipus complex. So, but he was pretty weak. He wasn't as strong as just Ultron as maybe Loki was. Still rather strong, formidable. He was able to go toe-to-toe with pretty much everybody. It was still just kind of, I felt he was underutilized. I realized that they had a good voice actor, gave him a bit of a personality, more so than I think he might have should have. Made him a bit more human, but as far as like his cinematic experience goes, I totally get it. It was still just a little disappointing how they handled Ultron as an overall threat by himself and what he was capable of. He was going to destroy the world, granted, but I think people aren't going to see him as big of a threat because it didn't take place in New York City. It was someplace far away where people were speaking Russian, and it was like in the slums or whatever. It wasn't in the biggest city in the world with a whole bunch of Americans in trouble. So people aren't going to see it as big of a threat, even though the dude was going to freaking just make the whole world anew again with a brand new meteor strike. Globally, that was as big as a threat as Loki could muster, but it didn't. I realized that it didn't feel as big as a threat. And as just Ultron, he seemed to be handled pretty easily. Even though he had all those copies roaming around, he was still pretty easy to destroy. Which is a little bit of a disappointment. I like that the Vision was the one to do it. Since it wasn't going to be Scarlet Witch, it had to be the Vision, and that's what it was. And we only have 2 stones left, so I don't know, where they're going to go with that. Obviously, Thanos is going to have to fight the Vision to get that stone out of his forehead, so that's something we're definitely going to have to look forward to. That'll probably be taking place in part 1. I don't know how they're going to do the Avengers 3, because it's split into 2 parts, for those of you who don't know. Is it going to get the gauntlet during the first part, or is he going to get the gauntlet at the with all the gems, of course, at the end of the first part, and the second part is when he's super tough? That's probably what they're going to be, because that's an easy little segue, easy break in the story. So overall, they did a lot of building. That's something a lot of people would complain about the solo films in Phase 2, that, oh, this is just a glorified trailer for the Avengers. Age of Ultron? Well, Age of Ultron was kind of like a glorified trailer for all of the solo movies for Phase 3. They set up the Claw for Black Panther, because Ultron chopped off his arm, and now he's going to get his claw on and become the Claw. And, we were right, he is Claw. That's the Black Panther villain, and you have the Vibranium from Wakanda. So they set up for that. Also, they had the interactions between Tony and Steve for Civil War. They set up, of course, the stones and the gauntlet at the end credit scene, which I think we all should have expected. I was like, of course it's going to be Thanos with the gauntlet, like, whatever. It was kind of boring and unnecessary, that as far as post-credit scene or mid-credit scenes go. There's no shawarma at the end of this one, because Joss Whedon said they couldn't top that. But overall, they did a lot of building, and I don't know how they're going to do Civil War, because that is the next movie on this slate. It's going to be next May, I think. Because they don't have mutants. I thought the Maximoff twins would give us the story behind other people getting their powers, but that's not the case. We have the new Avengers that they showed us at the end of the movie, because like Hulk and Hawkeye are gone, and Hulk's gone. So now we have War Machine and Scarlet Witch and Falcon and of course Steve and Black Widow. But we know that Hawkeye is coming back for Civil War, so he's not going to be retired, kind of like how they set it up to be at the end of this film. So maybe his family gets killed, and then he's like, okay, now I have to become part of this fight. Who knows? That definitely could be a direction that they do go. It was a good movie. Not perfect, maybe not the best in the Marvel franchise, in the cinematic universe, but I think a good installment. A little disappointing how they handled Ultron. I like the character development and the transitions between the films, character-wise, as well as their relationships with one another, with Tony and Steve, with Tony and Bruce, with Natasha and Bruce. It was pretty good. It was, they had their comedic moments in there. The action was pretty darn decent, especially since they had a whole bunch of robots to destroy. They didn't have to worry about civilian life. They saved a lot of civilians, which is not something that we've seen to that scale in superhero movies so far, even in the first Avengers. Oh, and in case you were wondering about the whole Mjolnir, Thor's hammer thing, as I mentioned with the Vision, it could be a couple of different things. But as far as Steve Rogers goes, where you see him, nudge it a little bit, and Thor's like, whoa, it's like, oh, I can't do it. Yes, in case you're wondering, Captain America can lift Mjolnir. We know that. He's Steve Rogers, for crying out loud. Of course he can lift up Mjolnir. He does in the comics a couple of times, and there is no in-between. You can either move it or you can't. We saw him move it. So there is no wiggle room. Of course he can lift up Mjolnir. He just didn't want to make Thor feel bad, because he's Steve Rogers. He's good guy Steve Rogers. He's not going to make anyone feel bad because he's Captain fucking America. Of course he can wield Mjolnir. In case you were wondering, yes. You don't have to be like, oh, maybe. No. He can. So overall, I thought it was pretty good. Definitely looking forward a lot more to Civil War. Don't know how they're going to do that, especially since they have to become friends again and face Thanos. Definitely looking forward to Doctor Strange and Thor Ragnarok. That could be a big thing, bigger in scope of the Marvel Universe than many people expect, because Thor had that vision and he had to leave, so he's not part of the Avengers for the time being, so he might not have a place in Civil War, because Ragnarok could probably be taking place at the same time. So, and that's going to be a big threat. If you've read the Thor Ragnarok comic series, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, a lot of that will be very, very interesting. So overall, I give this movie a thumbs up. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you next time.